All right, what's up, wrestling fans? I am here with Jake. We are about to record our podcast for Patreon, episode 2. So that's coming up, and we're going to talk about the poll and everything else that we're going to do for next week and whatever. We're going to talk about some wrestling and mostly non-wrestling stuff over on that podcast. So I hope you guys sign up on Patreon today because it is the first of the month, and we really need some help on Patreon. Let me tell you, it's the beginning of the month. We could definitely use some new patron pledges. Thousands of different whatever the hell on Patreon. You know the deal. Anyway, let's get into Fyter Fest. So we're going to get into Fyter Fest here, and then we'll be live tonight talking about it in the review. And then you'll also, in between that, be able to listen to the podcast that me and Jake put out in a little while. But right now, it's just Fyter Fest, and I'll let Jake, I guess Jake will probably guide us through the matches here.
Yeah, I mean, we've got quite a bit to go over, and I mean, some of it delves into next week's as well. So I don't know if you just want to do night one or both nights combined. That's up to you. But either which way, I mean, there's a lot of speculation and worry about Jon Moxley. Now, they would be taping that tomorrow, actually, July 2nd. And night one is being taped, I believe, yesterday and today, or just today, one of the two. But still, so night 2 would be tomorrow. So that doesn't give Moxley enough time to go ahead and, be isolated long enough. So what they're saying is that he might be stripped of the title for not being able to defend.
Oh my God.
That's some of the chatter that's been going around, which would be ridiculous. But
if that happened, it would be a bad, I don't know. I just think that'd be a bad precedent because what if the next guy then gets it?
Yeah,
and then the next guy gets
with
it.
COVID, if it's not an injury, but just an illness that takes you out roughly for about 2 weeks' time, then they can even have this match on, because it's not pay-per-view. Fyter Fest is free anyways, so they're not really losing out. They're giving away this show for free, as they had before.
It makes no sense. Doesn't make sense to me to do that. The only thing I could see them saying is, oh, we'll put the belt on the bad guy, and he never had to beat it, he never beat Moxley for it. And then when he comes back, so it's like setting up a story. But
yeah, where they can unify the titles. That's what I was bringing up last time, where they say, well, Brian Cage is now the interim AEW champion.
Well, I think he would still have to win something, though. I think they'd still make him win something.
I would hope they would still have a match against somebody at that point.
It'd be like Brian Cage versus somebody else for the vacated title.
Yeah. Now, this is the main event for night 2. So next week, July 8th, this will be the main event, and it's still in limbo. I guess we'll find out tomorrow when they film if Moxley was able to attend or not.
Dude, they can't do this. They can't. If they do, it starts devaluing the title a bit, and Jericho did such a good job with this belt. It would just where it could be taking steps back, the very dangerous.
It already feels like
back.
The belt is a little bit less elevated as it was when Jericho was holding the title. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately,
if I was them, I can't believe this, but I'd almost get the belt back to Jericho as quickly as possible.
And Renee Young all day has been teasing, I have a huge announcement Wednesday, and I've got this gigantic announcement. And, I mean, good for her. She announced that she's releasing a cookbook.
Oh. But
the way it was built up, you thought she was leaving WWE or something major had happened. Maybe she was pregnant, but that's not the case. She's releasing her own cookbook that she's been working on.
But you know what? I'll be honest, Jake. Renee Young, some people might be disappointed. I'm not disappointed because I couldn't give a crap. She could tell me, she could tweet out, I have the most insane, amazing news ever, and I'm going to tell you tomorrow. And I would not ever give a crap because I would be like, there's nothing she could tell me that would be exciting. I
wasn't intrigued, but the hype around it got to a fever pitch, basically. People
I have no hype.
Really going wild.
You are all suckers. Whoever out there were hyped up over Renee Young's tweets. Renee Young could tell me
Twitter was going nuts, and she was good about it too, the way she marketed it, because she's like, oh, now you have to go to Instagram to see my posts. So she was getting people to come on over there.
She's a great person. Renee Young is a good person.
Oh, absolutely.
But the best thing that she ever did, and it's a good thing, is the pre-show stuff, the pre-show analyst stuff before a pay-per-view. She is amazing at that, and that is what she's good at, and that's the best thing she's good at. And
yeah, post-show as well. That type of
what the hell is she going to excite me
covering.
about? She couldn't excite me about anything unless she told me she was coming over to beat me and ride me or something, and then like take my house from me and sell it. Like I would never be like, oh my God, Renee Young's coming over to kill me and take my belongings, or like Renee Young's coming to steal my car, or Renee Young just found out that she's an alien and she's going to tell everybody about Planet Nabulus. Like, I mean, like, wait,
I can't be the co-host that lets you get away with saying such deplorable filth, Joe. You need to be sent to sensitivity training, and how dare you imply such heinous acts?
What, that Renee Young would, that Renee Young might, that would rape me? Like, she might just rape me. At least I'm not doing it to her like Sammy Guevara would.
Yeah, you're being a willing participant.
Yeah, I've been RAPE'd in my life. Nobody cares.
So.
Nobody cares. And Keith Lee proved it. I told you. Exactly. I told everybody nobody cares.
Story, and
that's
no
why people go,
batted an eye.
Why can you joke about this, Joe, and be so whatever? I'm like, because nobody will ever care. I'm like, I'm telling you that.
I believe all women.
I know. They tied me down. Nobody cares. Even Leah does. My own wife doesn't believe this. I've told her this, and she's like, "You're crazy." It's like, oh my God, the double standard with men and women. It's unbelievable. If I was a girl, it'd be considered like a heinous crime. But as a guy, so like I get it, But
especially in that scenario where there's multiple.
I can't get anything over. I'm a white male with blue eyes. Like, so I can't even if I'm taken against my will by two women back when I was 18 or whatever I was, I can't even get sympathy for that. So see, like, there's just nothing I can do. So like, I hate the world. So the hate has created hate, Jake, and now I don't care about anything. So
you wonder why people snap.
I don't care, right? So when you tell me your story about how some guy winked at you, I'm sorry, I don't care.
Ain't that the truth?
You're going to be telling a story about how Joe Cronin pushed you down a flight of stairs. That'll be the next story.
Ye old abortion clinic.
Yeah, I'll open one just for your family. All right. Go.
So Moxley, needs to be tested, isolated 7 to 14 days. So that's really up in the air. But I really hope that they don't go ahead and strip him of any title.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
We're also hearing that Tessa Blanchard might be Nyla's mystery opponent at Fyter Fest. I think it's too soon. I don't think that they would have her signed yet. If they were going to grab her, maybe. I mean, it'd be a good grab. Certainly, it would help the women's division.
It is.
That would be a hell of a boost to the women's division.
Initially, I was like, this chick is not coming to AEW. No way, because of her heat and because of her background with the whole racism stuff. But it's weird. I got to give credit to AEW. One little piece of credit I really got to give, and I give them credit a lot, actually, but I'm going to give them another credit here. And I bash them a lot. I've said what I'll say my honest opinion about AEW. I think I am pretty harsh on WWE. I will admit. I'm pretty harsh on WWE. I have like no really good feelings. But with AEW, I try to go both ways. But with Tessa Blanchard, I'm pretty surprised about this news. What I will say about AEW that I like is even though AEW is like, what do you want to call it? The SJW wrestling company, or the company that like doesn't tolerate the hate stuff and the weird things.
Yeah, more socially aware.
Yeah, socially aware, I guess, would be a good word. Because so far, even when their own people have done things that would be considered like, oh, we're going to fire them. WWE seems to go either way. WWE either pretends it didn't happen or they fire the person. It's bizarre.
It's silence or scorched earth.
Yes, it's very strange. Lars Sullivan, all that stuff that came up. Okay, whatever. We're gonna kind of ignore that, or I think they fined him or something. I guess that maybe that's a bad example because they didn't ignore it. They fined him. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe WWE does do this, but it does seem like a lot of times they're fired or it's ignored. I think Lars Sullivan was one of the only times where I saw them be like, we fined him for something he wrote on a message board years and years and years ago. Now, with AEW, though, it seems like they kind of want to like reconfigure everybody. Like no matter who screws up, they want to send them to re-education camp and then continue. Doesn't seem like they want to fire anybody. So
yeah, they want to help people be better.
Be better. Which I agree with, but there is a part of me that like I just wonder, like the Sammy Guevara thing, he's like, I said stupid stuff, I was an idiot and I'm dumb, and I'm not quite as far gone with him as he is with himself in those comments. I feel like what you said was I feel like what I said was horrific. especially speaking about a colleague of mine, so I'm apologetic in that regard. As far as shock humor and stuff like that, I wouldn't apologize for that because I think it's comedy and I think it's funny to make jokes even if they're crazy. But I am sorry that she heard this, and I should never have made comments about somebody I could be working with like that when I'm in their house and in their environment. It's scary to them. It's not acceptable, and I shouldn't have done it. So there's all these things that go into that. Like, to me, like, I don't think it's wrong to make certain comments, but traditionally, is that something that I would ever want my kids saying about a woman? No. Like, of course not. Like, we don't want our kids saying something like this about women. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more concerned because it's possible that Sammy Guevara... See, I've seen guys say this in private. I don't say that stuff usually in private, but I would say that to pop a room or to, like, on a show as a shock thing. That's another one of those things. But in private, I've heard dudes be like, oh, dude, I did this and that to her. And that's in private. Like, again, this is weird guy talk. Anyway, we're getting off the rails with what I'm talking about. The bottom line is AEW seems to want to re-educate everybody. And so even though Tessa Blanchard has been accused of this, saying the N-word to people and being racist to wrestlers, I guess, and just being kind of a bully, they're saying. But now Big Swole says, no problem, she'll come here, maybe she'll get the help she needs. Her dad's here, and he's a pastor, and, everybody else in the company can help her be better or something. So I like that myself, but what I don't like is when she wasn't coming to AEW, it was kind of like, hey, let's all gang up and attack her for being this monster. But now when you hear that maybe she could come to AEW, now everybody's kind of like, we'll help her. It's like, well, why don't we help people right from the beginning instead of
jumping and dogpiling? And
like call her out, but say we want her to be better because I like her, like, overall, and she should be better, and I want her to be.
She's a very talented individual who possesses, a great deal of passion for the business, and I think if we work on her attitude, then we can have a real exemplary star here. I think moments like that instead of tearing people down.
I think it's really important that if you find somebody like Tessa and she's being racist. Like being racist, like saying racist things, even if she's not racist. I think it's really important that a lot of people say, like, she's saying racist things, but I don't think she's really racist. So we really have to, like, whatever. And you're trying to help somebody. If somebody actually is a racist, which I don't know if there are any. I don't know anybody like that, but somebody who's actually is a racist.
Yeah.
Nobody's got time for that. But if you're...
No, absolutely. You're saying things, and that's the thing, too. I correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it all a he said, she said type situation?
It is, yeah. It's not even a... That's why...
Her and who? Big Swole, correct?
Yeah, well, Big Swole was like the third party. She did this to somebody else, and I think Big Swole was kind of the one to blow the whistle or whatever.
All right, yeah. So not the instigator, but the one to bring to light. All right, that makes sense. So that's a reason too that she might not come to the company because Big Swole might have problems. She might not.
No. Well, that's the thing is Big Swole tweeted out the other day that she would want her to come. She wants to come.
Oh, really?
She said,
see that. So
yeah. Big Swole said she should come here. This is her best option. And then people were like, "What? Don't you hate her?" And then Big Swole was like, "Well, listen, her dad's a pastor. He's here." And we're all here, and we can help her, and she needs that help and guidance,
so she can become a better person. So that's really big of Big Swole.
Yeah, so that's what Big Swole tweeted. That's why I'm actually bringing this up. So, like, my point is, she could show up now, whereas I thought zero chance before.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of seemed like a done deal, but this makes a great deal of sense. And they've had other people say things that have been less than stellar. And
by the way, I can be hired now. Finally,
yeah,
I can finally
still
be
got
hired
a shot. They can make you better. Be better.
They can make me better. Wait till they hear, like, if they ever heard my stuff, they'd be like, "Oh,
Joe's shock ways are now behind him as we've got him on the commentary table." See, now that's the ideal.
My comedy and shock version of me is definitely the insecure part of me that, like, just wants to laugh at everything. But there is the other part of me that's like the opposite of that. So sometimes when I hear my own stuff, I'm like, wow. When I'm in a mood of like being a good person and being a normal human being, I'll hear my stuff and I'll be like, whoa, what was I doing? Or like, I would never let my kids hear this type of thing because I don't really want to be that person. Like, but the jokes and comedy are funny to me. So yeah, there's like it's weird. I want to be two different people. So if certain people heard some of the things I said, I'd be embarrassed because I'd be like, you don't understand like the comedy that I was doing. I don't actually think that way. So it's one of those things where you're comfortable saying things around an audience that understands the jokes you're making, but you're not comfortable when maybe somebody outside of that hears it and then judges it because they don't understand what you're doing and that you're not really like that. So it's very hard. I don't know. It's one of those things. And then people would say, well, that's because you know it's not right. And it's like, well, no, it's a different form. I wouldn't make the same jokes to my grandmother that I would make to Leah, my wife, that I would make to my mother. Like, I wouldn't want my mother or my grandmother to hear certain things because they're jokes, just like anybody else. Even a professional comedian who's considered to be a real good comedian who isn't like some bad person, like even Dave Chappelle, right? So Dave Chappelle should pretty much do no wrong. Bill Cosby back in the day even. Bill Cosby actually worked clean. Anyway, get us back to Fyter Fest. Let's just go through the matches. I have derailed everything.
Hey, no, it makes good sense. It's all topical. So getting to tonight's specific card, we have 5 matches scheduled to occur. The first I have here is Private Party. So they're going to go ahead. They're having Matt Hardy join their entourage, and they're taking on the Inner Circle members Santana and Ortiz of Pride and Powerful. I think part of the rumors that's going around now is that Matt Hardy might be turning heel and jumping ship to join the Inner Circle. And a lot of the comments say that, well, his face run hasn't lit the world on fire of AEW. And that's the truth. He hasn't done anything so far that's been truly inspiring on the level that Matt usually brings. So him not being directly in action, either being sidelined as just a posse member for Private Party. I know they wanted to get him included with the feud and keep it going, but for him not to actually be in action because they're down now, Sammy Guevara, it would have been 3-on-3. So this is, a numbers issue. That's a bit disappointing as well. So now with Sammy out, Matt's out, and the way this was all booked is kind of not that interesting, honestly. I don't really have a great deal of concern for Private Party taking on the Inner Circle. If they had Matt Hardy turn on Private Party and have him join the Inner Circle, finally team with Jericho, I think that could be really interesting, especially with the way Jericho wanted Vanguard 1 and they destroyed Vanguard 1.
He destroyed Matt's Vanguard. That would be like, you're going to join him now after you just killed your friend? I can't believe that.
I could see an alter of Matt Hardy joining, and they could do something like that, where maybe one of his identities is with the Inner Circle. They could play up with his split personality.
That's hilarious, dude.
See, I think that would be...
Dude, one of them is with Jericho and the other isn't. That's wicked funny. Isn't. Oh, my God,
I think
dude.
That would be great.
Oh, my God.
Really delve into more of the characteristics and different vessels, that Matt Hardy has. He's got the same vessel, but different characters, I'm
just picturing, like version 1 is with Chris Jericho, and then when he's back to broken Matt Hardy, he's mad again because of what he did to Vanguard 1.
Yeah, and they don't know which
oh my God,
which
dude.
version of him they have at that point, especially because he's saying he's got, version 1, he's got broken Matt, he's got unkillable Matt.
Well, one minute he's talking to Jericho and they're talking about what they're going to do to somebody. The next minute he goes, "You scoundrel," and he starts punching him, and Jericho's like, no, Damascus is back. Or whatever. Oh my dude!
Just seeing everybody run.
Did you just come up with that?
Eating, everything's fine.
Did you read that somewhere?
No, I didn't read that.
Oh my God, dude! I could write.
I heard was about him turning heel.
I could write 6 weeks of TV with that. I could write 6 weeks of TV with what you just said.
Easily.
If not.
No, that my own thought. I've heard about him turning heel since they announced the match, and.
Oh my God!
But my own thinking is that I think it'd be great to have him, different personalities. You see the Inner Circle; they're all sitting, eating together, and having a great time with Matt, and they're conversing, and things are going great. And then all of a sudden, it delves into huge madness with everybody running away because now he's back to broken Matt Hardy, chucking food at everybody and snapping. So he goes from talking to Jericho to strangling him back to talking. And as if nothing's wrong.
That's way too funny. That's got to be done. But I am disappointed in Matt Hardy and AEW so far. I mean, so his debut was great, and some of those things with Jericho and Vanguard were hilarious.
Yeah, those were good. It's moments.
But now it really feels like it feels like we got 3 or 4 weeks of funny stuff from Matt Hardy so far in AEW. But it feels like now it's back to just how he was in WWE.
He delved too far into the silly with it. Too much of the stupid.
Yeah, they really. It's like
TNA allowed them to be crazy and zany, but it still felt, I don't even want to say believable, but in the same realm. Like, it all was canon. It fit together. With this, it's just like, well, why are you this personality now? Why are you changing between personality? There's not much explanation. It's just to fit that comedy role that they want from him.
I don't understand like why nobody can recapture what made this great in 2016, because it was so good. Like this, it was so damn good in 2016 with what they did. And if they just sort of tried to, I've always been of the mind of like, pretend like he's back to normal and nothing's wrong and you don't even know about this delete character and say that, yeah, I remember that happening, but I don't know. That was crazy. And I've always been about kind of rebirthing it. Like, so he falls off a ladder. Yeah, he falls off a ladder through a table. Actually, we said this in WWE too, and they did do this. We said it for weeks and weeks and weeks. It was almost like they heard the show.
Beaten down, and then you're like, oh, this is how he's going to turn broken.
Yeah.
And he didn't. And then he got his ass kicked again and destroyed even. And we're like, all right, this is going to make him turn broken. And it didn't. And then suddenly he was just woken, and it was a shell of his
No, he did do it. He remember on Raw, he lost again, and then he started like gnawing at his teeth, and then he started like getting angry, and then he started doing delete. So he did sort of.
That was his small transition, but it came after weeks of him getting like utterly beat down and not transitioning.
Yeah,
so,
we thought it should have been like he falls off a ladder through a table or something happens, and like that's when
because they had a few spots where he got beat up pretty badly too. It looked like, oh, this is definitely a moment where he's gonna snap. This is sold, but it didn't work out like that.
Yeah,
so.
it's kind of gotten old now, which is too bad because I really liked it. And I thought I'll say I think I was wrong in the end. I don't know. I still think I could have been right if they had handled it right, but part of me thinks I was wrong because I said that I felt that Matt Hardy could be the number one wrestler in the world with his gimmick that was going on in 2016. I thought
at that point in time you're still right. I'll stand by that. That's a hill to die on.
If he did that in WWE, I mean, I feel like it would have been must-see TV of what's Matt going to do.
Never got it. So Vince was like, "Oh, talk to the fish. It's funny." Like that was okay.
Yeah.
But we didn't get any of the other stuff that made it magical and worthwhile. Plus everything that was going on with his brother in the time, they didn't get the chance to really get them together. Then some of the stuff he did with Bray could have been much better, but it felt like Vince never gave him the full green light. Like it was always very
Vince doesn't like the guy. Vince understands the Hardy Boys tag team, and he understands he even sort of understands Jeff as a singles guy, but he totally doesn't understand Matt at all.
No, not one bit, unfortunately.
But anyway, I think he can still do stuff in AEW. Matt Hardy, I think he can still.
I think he has a great deal of potential. Like I said, I think that could be gold, comedy gold. Sitting here talking with you, you think of something simple. One of his personalities is now in the inner circle, and of course they want him because they think it's legit, and they want to keep him, from helping. It's better to have your enemies close, and that kind of idea.
The only thing that makes me mad about that, though, is I still want him to have this single run as Broken Matt Hardy. I just want him to be Broken Matt Hardy, and I want to just I loved that character, dude. This is the greatest.
You just nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. When he came in, he was supporting the Young Bucks and. He came in as a savior of sorts rather than coming in as his own character. He immediately was intertwined in a pre-made storyline that didn't really need him. He was just thrown into it, and he wasn't the equalizer. He wasn't this game-changing force because they were losing and winning beforehand. So Matt being added was just extra. It was just some fluff added to the mix of things between the elite and the inner circle.
Right.
It wasn't a necessity.
Well, now let's move on to the other matches.
Come in with him versus Jericho straight up. I think that would have been much better than the whole group angle. But
yeah, it was a little. I mean, they might have done that because
Jericho specifically, rather than having to get through all of the inner circle and still really not get much justice over on Jericho either, because he didn't really get any real sense of retribution for Vanguard 1 getting destroyed. I mean, they had the Stampede match, but even that, I don't feel like enough justice was done. So, but I think Private Party loses here. Getting back to the match, Santana Ortiz, they get the victory, and maybe we do see Matt turn, but I think it would have to be on a special, parameter. I don't think that they would do it straight up where he's just now a heel. I think they would have to do like one of his personalities as a heel, or it wouldn't be all or nothing. I can't see them taking away his face status at this point, though I think they're missing out.
Yeah, I think I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to go with Private Party, though. I don't know why. I'm going to go with them.
Okay, so next up we have Jurassic Express. So Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus taking on MJF and Wardlow. This is going to be a hell of a fight. I'm greatly looking forward to this one tonight. I say that MJF and Wardlow, they're going to emerge victorious here.
Yeah.
I can't see MJF losing at this point in time. Even if they pin Wardlow, I think that'd still be a bad look. MJF will use the ring. He'll cheat like he does with his heel tactics, but he's on such a great, path that he has so much momentum that to derail him now would be a sin. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. I'd go with MJF and Wardlow over. They don't have to win because MJF's another one of those heels that can lose. Like he's sort of like
lose, but why have him lose when you don't? It's not. Yeah. You're not achieving anything here. It's just a win or loss. So if there's a point to it, if there was something that they were really trying to do to get someone over, then I'd be like, okay, if the payoff is worth it. But to have him lose now just feels unnecessary. Then we have Penelope Ford challenging Shida. So Hikaru Shida's the champion for the women's side. Mm-hmm. Penelope Ford with Kip Sabian. She's going to go ahead and challenge. I don't see Shida losing. I think Shida's going to retain here till they get somebody else in the division, or at least build somebody else up. I could see somebody like the reemergence of Anna Jay or the Abaddon character being the ones built up to take away Shida's title versus somebody like Penelope Ford. And I like Ford too, but I don't see her winning tonight.
Yeah, I think Shida's going to win too. I think that I think she's going to have a decent run with this belt because they got nothing else really going on right now yet that I can see.
Yeah,
so
exactly. They have some new interesting faces. We'll see what happens if Tessa does come forward, but there's a good deal to it.
So I'm Shida as well.
Then we have Cody, of course, with Arn Anderson taking on Jake Hager. Cody is the AEW TNT champion at this point in time, and he's going to go ahead and defend the belt against Hager. Huge, MMA fight feel to this one. They've had the press conference, a lot of buildup. I picture Cody bleeding here. I picture Cody, reopening that nasty scar he has. I see these two giving us a really good knockdown drag out fight, and usually Cody never disappoints, so I think this will probably be match of the night.
I would think you would start this as a grapple thing, and then it would turn into a street brawl, and then it would end with a wrestling match. Add in some mixed martial arts, and
especially Hager, but I could see them exactly doing,
those would be the stages of the match. If you did an 18-minute match like that, and that's the other thing we got to consider too about this is tonight it's 2 hours. We don't have
2 hours on TV with commercials. With 5 matches. So
that's going to be interesting. Where will the commercial breaks take place? That's a real big question tonight.
Yeah, and
that could mess things up.
One of the tweets that I no longer see now had said limited commercials, but I don't see that anymore. So I don't think that's happening anymore.
I think you could get away with a commercial before and after every match or so.
I think that would be fine, and that's the best. Even if they did an extended commercial break, before and after every match, but don't interrupt the matches. It's going to happen.
Yes, I agree with you, dude. I would rather have a 5-minute, 6-minute commercial than to have 2 or 3 minute commercials interrupt a match once or twice.
Absolutely.
That's too much. I mean, maybe during one of the tag matches they can have a commercial, but I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I used to say, picture in picture, but even that, it's distracting. You can't hear anything, obviously, and then it's difficult to make out what's going on and always see, and so that's not a great answer either.
And Jericho's
I do think Cody retains, though. Do you think so as well, or?
Yeah, I think Cody Rhodes is going to keep the belt.
All right, and then interesting enough, we have Kenny Omega and Adam Page, the AEW World Tag Team Champions, defending against Best Friends. So Chuck Taylor and Trent will be there. Jericho will be on commentary all night tonight, so that's a highlight as well. I think this show is really stacked.
This is honestly the one, man. I really, if I had to pick night after night, night against night, this is the night that this is probably going to be the good night. I can't believe next week.
Especially since we don't know about Moxley's status.
If you add Moxley's status to the fact that next week is a bit shaky, then tonight is the night that you should be. If tonight's not good, then I'm concerned. But I think it will be good tonight. So this will be interesting. I wonder if there'll be a little more crowd there or less. I mean, Florida isn't doing well right now. I kind of forget.
Florida's in an awful state at this point.
Yeah, this is we're killing it up here. So like I have a theory that, I mean, you know, Italy was really bad, and then they got a little better for a second, but then they went back to bad, and then right around that time, New York got really bad, and then New York's been bad, and now New York and Massachusetts and stuff are doing pretty good.
Yeah, New England is doing quite well.
So
and
don't you feel like
other
this
states
is
in the country are doing awful? So.
Yeah, so don't you feel like this is their New York, their Italy throughout the country right now? Like other people are saying,
because a lot of states aren't taking people coming from Florida. This is one of the articles I have here. WWE puts superstars and staff into a mess to avoid Florida travel restrictions. So one of the big issues is that New Jersey, Connecticut, and New York stated that anyone coming from Florida has to quarantine for 2 weeks when they arrive. That's how bad the COVID-19 pandemic is in Florida. And 260 of 500 employees that we discussed at the Orlando International Airport tested positive recently. And that's the airport that WWE flies everyone out of. They have to use that airport. And having a 2-week quarantine won't work for WWE. They need the superstars and staff, you know, to fly so they can film more frequently. So Ringside News had learned that anyone coming from those prohibited areas are now flying to and from Philadelphia. This is to avoid the restrictions against flying directly from New York, from Florida to New York, Connecticut, or New Jersey.
That's wild, dude. We're you and us. I mean, we're in the like 90 cases a day right now.
I know, and they're having 40,000 plus.
That's crazy.
Places. And here's the thing, too. I mean, it is interesting, but my God, when you think about it, how does that even make sense? You could see that the person came from Florida to Philadelphia, now Philadelphia to New York. So can't the TSA or whoever, shouldn't they know? Like, hey, this person's coming from Florida, so they still, just because you had a stop flight and what do you call it there, like a layover in Philadelphia, that shouldn't make a difference. WWE even canceled their live events that they had scheduled for July. So at the end of July, they were supposed to bring back in an audience, and they canceled that as well.
Yeah, see, wow. I mean, this is just their time, is what it is, because Florida had been maintaining about 1,000 a day or less, hundreds a day. And I mean, Massachusetts, we had our spike already, but Florida's spike right now is, like you said, like 8,000 something thousand. You know, in Massachusetts, I just compared to my state. When Massachusetts had our spike, I mean, we had a rough time too. When we had our spike, when we had our spike, we had.
But now you see WWE saying that masks, sanitization, social distancing are required at the Performance Center. You'll be required to wear a mask upon entering, and we ask you to adhere to these requirements in order to minimize the risks. But they weren't doing this before, so.
Right, they're finally doing something when you're pushed
it's
up
just
against the wall.
Too late at that point in time.
Well, and Florida is, you know, even in Massachusetts, we're in the Northeast, right near New York. Our worst spike was 5,000. Florida, I think, right now is at 8,000 or higher. I mean, so what's going on? But it's just so what that tells me, man, is that we're Florida, the southern areas especially, they're going to be in this, what is it, July, for the rest of July into about August. And it won't be till September that you see them flatline again.
Exactly. It's going back up. Now today they have 6,093 so far, just yesterday.
So we won't see extra people in the crowd.
It was 10,000 cases, so.
We won't see extra people in the crowd is kind of what we're getting at, I think.
And they're making everybody, obviously social distance, wear masks and things of that nature. So I think that the Best Friends, getting back to original, prediction here, will beat the tag team champions, because I can see the Best Friends with Orange Cassidy. If Orange Cassidy beats Jericho, them holding up the tag titles with Orange Cassidy together, I think that could be quite the image. So
see, I never get into the whole when there's a group, they got to own all the belts. You always hear that talk, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, what? They
No,
all
I'm not for that either, because Jericho doesn't have any belt for Cassidy to win. So I just think it'd be a good image for the three of them to be together while best friends are the tag champs.
Right.
And Orange Cassidy has this high-profile match on his own against Jericho.
And now, Orange Cassidy can like celebrate with them, and Jericho's mad at the end of the night on the commentary. Is this match ending?
Is pissed off?
Is this match ending the night?
It says here that I guess this is the main event. That's how it's listed here on the
Cody
website.
Rhodes the main event?
I would assume so, but I'm sure that seems more likely to me, to have the AEW TNT Championship be the main event instead of the tag team titles.
If Cody Rhodes is not the main event, I wonder if he loses the belt. Because that's
true too.
Weird.
It could be possible.
So that's bizarre. But yeah, I mean, I'll still pick Cody. But all right, well, I'm still gonna go. I mean, this is too bad because all these belts are on the line, and and
with the other two, we have them retaining. So I think one belt has to change hands. I think Kenny Omega and Adam Page have Hangman's had the belt with together for quite a while now, and I feel like they kind of did what they could with the belts for the most part, and now we can have their story where those two finally split with each other come to fruition. We've been waiting for that to happen. So now they lose the belts tonight due to some mistiming or miscommunication, and that's when we get that turn that we've been waiting for. So,
well, I'm really on the fence on this one.
Are you? Yeah. I mean, I could see it going both ways, but I could see them retaining too. But honestly, I think best friends. See, the thing is, it'd be nice if they had an audience tonight too, because that's what you want. Them holding the belts up high while Orange Cassidy's behind them and the fans going nuts. That's the moment you're looking for.
I'm still gonna say that they retain. I can't. Best friends, man. I don't know. Chuck Taylor. Come on.
Trent
or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. No, I'm going to say that. I don't know. Screw it. I'm going to say they don't retain. I'm going to say no titles change hands tonight. Screw it. That's a crazy thing, I think, to say, but
no, especially on a free.
I don't know. Like I really do think though. Like I'm like 80% sure that one of these belts is going to change hands somewhere.
That's my mindset. That's why I was going with the tag titles for everything. But
yeah. So, but I'm still going to pick the champs to retain. By the way, I want to shout out to Kenneth Allen, who became a $10 VIP patron. Jose Leon became a $2 patron, and Xavier Green became a $5 patron. Thank you guys. When you become a patron, we will definitely shout you out, of course. And I hope everybody else remembers to check their Patreon, and hopefully you guys can pledge or up your pledge on Patreon if you can. We have $25 producer tiers. We're going to be shouting those out tomorrow and throughout the entire month of July. Happy Canada Day to all the Canadians out there, too. I want to make sure to get that out. And that's about it. Is there anything else that I could have forgotten? I mean, if anybody wants an example of ADD and ADHD, this podcast is a pretty good example of what it does to you.
No, that's it for night one. And then next week we'll cover night two for AEW Fyter Fest. Plus, we'll wait to hear more news on the status of Jon Moxley, because we'll know by tomorrow whether or not he wrestled. So no spoilers, obviously, but we'll find out whether or not the match did commence.
Yeah, that's going to be super interesting. That second show is ugly without him.
Yeah, that, and because we have Nyla Rose versus, to be announced.
Ugh.
Lance Archer taking on Joey Janela, Chris Jericho, Orange Cassidy, Colt Cabana and the Dark Order taking on SoCal Uncensored, so SCU will be in action. And then we have the Revival and the Young Bucks taking on the Butcher, the Blade, and the Lucha Brothers. So it doesn't have the same appeal because there's only one title match. So, and that might not happen.
That's so weird. All right, guys, we will see you tonight live for the review of Fyter Fest AEW tonight on Joe Cronin Show. I think Jake will be here tonight too, probably.
I will indeed.
And I'll be there, and we'll be having some fun tonight, man. I'm looking forward to tonight. This is exciting, actually. So, super excited. Any of you video game nerds out there, get excited that I am putting up a little video game podcast. That's up on Evil Spectrum 3. It's a little bit of talk about Diablo, Torchlight, and a couple other things. If you're nerdy enough to go want to listen to that. It's not a big thing, but it's a little thing up on Evil Spectrum 3. Certainly check out the Patreon, though. This is the time of the year, the month when we need it. And nothing else to say, really. See you tonight. I just want to get to 40 minutes. We're 10 seconds away from 40 minutes exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I got OCD right now. All right, we're almost there. All right, bye. Oh, man.